Alright, so gamers, I have asked you on Discord to provide me with links to, in your opinion, the best reviews. It seems like BOOMSTICK Gaming did something quite interesting, so probably this is going to be the first one.
Shadow of the Erdtree is a gargantuan expansion that nearly doubles the amount of content in Elden Ring.
Doubles?
I've been pouring dozens of my human hours into exploring every inch of the new region, falling in love with more of the new weapons than I could possibly main, and experimenting with mountains of new
That's gonna be
items.
such a bad weapon.
So I'm going to review this
the one that
expansion
we just
by
seen,
highlighting
like,
the
what
new,
was that
unusual,
explosion?
and most
Let me actually look it up again. It's
exploring
actually
every
reskin,
inch
look.
of the new region,
Not this
falling in
one.
love with more of the new
And
weapons
here, the jump,
than I could possibly
the freaking hit onto the ground,
main and experiment.
and then pull out, which is different animation. But this is actually Blade's weapon. Yeah, it's a reskin. That's interesting.
With mountains of new weird items. So I'm going to review this expansion by highlighting the new, unusual, and most interesting mechanics that could go easily missed or underutilized. I'm Alex, and these are 10 things that you maybe didn't know were possible in
look
Shadow
at
of
that.
the Erdtree. By the way, I
Skillful
will
moment.
not be showing any major boss fights, and will
No
keep
boyo.
my headcanon to myself. No story stuff whatsoever. Okay, first, the new perfume bottle weapon type is one of the most satisfying to wield and has some unique synergies. These come in a variety of flavors like green apple, orange, lemon lime, and madness.
So you can actually poison with it. I'm actually curious how good this thing's going to be in PvP on the high latency. Just to apply madness and also to apply the poison.
Name a few. However, if you put a different bottle type in your other hand, your offhand attack will hit with both effects at the same time, like inflicting both
I'm really curious about the application in such case.
poison and madness, green apple despair, or lightning and fire, lemon lime arson. The jump attack with this combo is surprisingly strong, and these mixtures
look,
are
Reskin.
overall pretty potent. You can also find different Ashes of War for the perfume bottles, and those skills gain the properties of whichever bottle or bottles you have equipped. Here you can see the offhand bottle using lightning to ignite those outgoing flames.
I kind of didn't pay attention like at all, but dude, this armor going hard. I cannot wait for it to have like 50 poison being completely unusable.
Two-handing, two-fisting a single bottle, though, will give you access to some really strong multi-hit AoE attacks. The sprinting heavy attack is a personal favorite, since its damage effect lingers along your sides as you run and ends with a blast right in front of you. You can also move around during this attack, and if you arc yourself perfectly around the target, you can multi-hit with this one attack for extra
Yeah, this is what I
bonus
anticipated
damage.
going to be the
Easier
case.
when you're not locked on.
First time I seen it.
Something else that ties in perfectly with the fire-based bottles is the new oil-soaked tier that you can equip to your flask.
Okay, wait. Isn't oil like increasing damage of the fire fucking tremendously, like to the point that you can pretty much just one-shot things? If that's going to continuously apply the oil status, then holy fuck.
That'll make your body all covered in slippery oil, which will automatically coat that onto nearby enemies. That debuff on the target, along with other fire damage modifiers, can make for a deadly concoction. Fire can be the solution to many of life's problems, and 60% of the time it works every time. Some of the new weapons have extra attack modifiers, like tapping dodge while holding the heavy attack button. Here, that changes the Great Katana's forward lunge into an evasive
Oh my god! Oh, this is so good! Oh, we are going to be feinting the attacks with the freaking giant katanas. Oh, and also like this shit looking so beautiful, man.
backslash. Instead of advancing while throwing these claws, you can instead jump backwards and throw them by tapping dodge during the charged heavy attack. Same goes for the perfume bottles, which lets you cancel out of a heavy attack to spray the effect while jumping backwards. It's useful that more weapons have access to this combat mechanic, since it lets you make quick adjustments to your moveset in response to what the enemy is doing. In the new region, keep an eye out for these dudes with sparkling pots on their head. They will quickly vanish if you don't dispatch them in time, but if you do, they'll drop a Scod Tree fragment. Everywhere in this expansion, you'll be finding jars, pots, bowls, buckets, bins, ziplocs, receptacles. You know what? New title idea. Yeah, I like that. Container. Anyways, Scod Tree fragments and revered spirit ashes are 2 new items that can further bolster your character while they're in the expansion. Like here, you can see my character stats while on the original map on the left, and there's new melee.
Wait, I accidentally skipped. Wait, you are basically doubling your fucking AR. What the fuck is this? And like, these defenses are incredible. What the shit? Bro, you are going to be a superhero in this freaking DLC, man. It's fucking ridiculous. On top of that, it's honestly, I really hope this shit is not going to stay in PvP.
In the expansion on the right, highlighted yellow. There's new melee weapons that can also cast spells, like the Carrion Sorcery Sword.
Bruh, finally, the comeback of the caster weapons. That's actually so cool.
This has access to a string of basic attacks like normal,
and that's
but the heavy attack button is replaced with the ability to cast. So,
dude, imagine if you are going to use it with the Swift Glintstone Pebble. Oh my god, it is going to be so good. And also the Frozen Needle is going to be essentially power crept. GG. DLC is pay to win.
This one weapon could also hit like a greatsword, a hammer, or a bow, however you look at it. This also works well on horseback, being able to easily attack or cast spells without needing to swap hands. Pair this with a shield, and that gives you access to melee attacks, a block, and spell casting like a true warrior mage, without having to switch anything around in the middle of combat.
Try to use it against enemies that deal more than 2 stamina damage per hit.
Another option, if you prefer using a staff or seal in your main hand, is to pair it with the new thrusting shield. One button holds up a block, but the other has a full attack moveset, just like a traditional melee weapon.
Which means no access to Ashes of War when you're using this weapon as offhand. No, this is not going to be good in any way, shape or form. You're gonna have to use it in 2 hands.
The outgoing hits also have a few frames of active block, which can mitigate incoming damage during their animation. Casting, blocking, and attacking is just as seamless as the last setup, just achieved a little bit differently. You'll find a few of these big fire dudes around the map, which are tricky to take down until you understand what to do. Get in close and continually attack their legs while double jumping with your horse to evade those fire stomps. Eventually your pedicure will knock them down, and then you can perform a critical hit on their face plate thing. If one of them has armored toes though, you'll have to find a different solution. You can throw the new Hefty Pot item into their heads to deal some damage, specifically the Hefty...
Wow! Let's show fire into fire, definitely going to work, and you know what? It fucking actually does.
Furnace Pot being the most effective. Another option is
like
to lock onto their face
50k
and
damage
spells or arrows from the ground. Some of the new weapons come imbued with elemental properties like fire, but can also be further imbued with weapon coatings to amplify the effect, like the Fire Knight's short sword. However, if you apply an Ash of War that grants a further fire enhancement, you won't be able to apply a traditional weapon coating. But with the Flaming Strike skill, you can input a heavy attack right after casting it, which will bathe the weapon.
Really? We are getting taught basics right here?
Weapon in those glorious flames
Okay.
to amplify the fire damage even higher. This also works similarly with the Flame Spear skill, applying fire to your weapon after you use it. Combine that with the oil-soaked tier I mentioned before and some other elemental buffs to create something that will melt enemies.
What the fuck? This thingy has the flower properties from Lurnia. What the shit?
In this expansion, it doesn't have the big ding-dong walker things, which are used to duplicate boss remains, but you can find these coffins in the new area that function exactly the same. If you don't need it right then, make sure to at least mark these coffins on your map for later. Another new weapon type are the throwing blades, which give you a full melee moveset but with the range of a throwable. These really change the feel of the gameplay and are well suited for a playstyle that prefers staying back a little further. Even if you don't make these your main weapon, it is a strong, viable option now to use these in your offhand.
This is looking so cool. Holy shit. White Light Church is the Ash of War.
Daggers in your
nice patrol.
That's an infinite use, free range projectile for your build. You can also find the smithing
my god, this weapon looking so pretty. What is that? Enhances weapon throwing attacks. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, even more cancer. GG. And there is like plenty of new talismans that we can see here.
Throwing weapons. There's other new weapon classes I haven't mentioned yet, like the ironically named Light Greatsword. These have a really flowy moveset and Ashes of War that give it different stances. The hand-to-hand type is a quick assault of punches and kicks, and I found it to be pretty effective at staggering. These feel like a totally different combat system. The backhand blades have your character holding swords the cool upside-down way. These and some other weapons can also be thrown with their heavy...
Oh! Like, I remember in the 90s you had this TV show. How that was called? Fucking... Xena... I think something warrior, like, well, I can imagine the cosplayers rising.
Attack. The beast claws let you bear with a moveset that lunges you forward
with
quick paw swipes. The great katana is like a katana, but with extra greatness. Slower to swing, but harder to hit, with some different stances you can get for their weapon skills.
Oh, that running attack! Look at that, it is like extended CGS running attack.
There's also all...
Shamefully, it seems like he didn't show the running R2. I was very curious about that one. If it would be like, somewhat like the regular katana running R2, that would be phenomenal.
Kinds of new old weapon types with altered movesets. Like the Swift Spear chaining in extra hits with each input.
Bruh.
Or putting this dagger into your offhand to change the entire moveset of your equipped piercing sword. And real
what? What was that? Did he just show regular 2-stock?
Radamativium just subscribed.
Yo, thank you a lot, gamer, for tier 3. Holy shit, GG.
Quick, make sure to jump into the options menu and enable Mark New Items and Show Recent Items tab.
Oh, look at that. People were actually scared about potential idea of learning new menu layout. So there is actually a possibility to turn off the new tabs like all together. So hey, that's nice.
Then you'll get this new inventory tab that shows...
Yeah, like this is completely new inventory tab. And people were like, oh my god, it's going to ruin my muscle memory. Even though you can literally just, especially if you have PvP ready build, you can just straight up drop yourself stuff on the ground to put these items on the very top that you need the most, which I think it would actually be better overall for everyone to learn this new tab, but yeah. It's good to have an option, I guess.
Most recent. With hundreds of new things in this expansion, this was surprisingly useful for quickly inspecting all the new stuff. Okay, final thoughts. Here we go. Shadow of the Erdtree is vastly larger in scope than I initially expected. I honestly don't know how From Software creates the time to make all this, because there's not just 2 or 3 standout epic areas, there's like 8, 9...
This is so beautiful, man. So much space for light rolling. Amazing.
Maybe 10 that will blow your mind. Easily the best expansion to drop since the Old Hunters, and overall I would gladly give Shadow of the Erdtree a strong 5 out of 5. A masterwork of game design, crammed with all the coolest stuff your character is going to love. Before I close this out though, I want to know what character build you're bringing into this.
Oh,
I brought
my
in
great
a
shield
high-dex,
just appeared.
high-intelligence katana spellcaster, but I have to admit, all the new faith-based weapons and spells I kept finding did make me a little jelly of faith users.
Oh my god! Do you see this Ash? And it's for Colossals?
Faith-based weapons and spells
We had the fire projectile, and now we're also going to have basically instant mix-up fucking charge attack
of-
that also goes so fucking far. It is literally a power creep of fucking piercing fang. Do you see this shit?
Faith user.
Bruh!
Okay, that's pretty
Pay
much it.
to
Thanks
win.
for watching, everyone. I'm Alex, and I'll see you next time.
Oh, that's gonna be such a good hard swap. Holy fuck, man. Wow. Thank you a lot, BOOMSTICK Gaming, for that review, because it was very good. I actually didn't expect to know so much new things about after this review. Holy fuck, that's great. I am really surprised.
When I gave Elden Ring a 10 2 years ago, I did so not just because it's an incredible game, but also because it raised the bar for open world games as a whole. The way it encourages exploration, rewards curiosity, and challenges you to find your own individual solutions to difficult combat encounters by including tons of different viable weapons, spells, and other build options is absolutely exemplary. Now, From Software is back to rate
Fuck was that katana though? It's the gigantic katana, yeah? But yeah, it's looking so good. Holy shit.
Exemplary. Now, From Software is back to raise the bar on everyone yet again, this time when it comes to what you would expect from a simple DLC. Shadow of the Erdtree may not do anything radically different from the base
The dragon form? You think that's a dragon form and not just armor set?
individual solutions to difficult combat encounters by including tons of different
It might
viable
be.
weapons,
Yeah, it is actually.
spells, and other build options is absolutely exemplary. Now, From Software is back to raise the bar on everyone yet again, this time when it comes to what you would expect from a simple DLC. Shadow of the Erdtree may not do anything radically different from the base game, but this expansion somehow feels like a scaled-down version of that same experience, recapturing all of the magic of playing Elden Ring for the first time.
Oh my god, it has follow-up! Oh, this is... Oh man.
With more content packed within than many full-price games.
Let's
Its
go.
unexpectedly large realm is filled with new secrets, new discoveries, a ton of new build options to experiment with, as well as some of the most challenging
Overhead stance. Okay, so this flame on the katana is essentially...
boss battles.
yeah,
Souls
this
fans
is
will have ever
grease.
seen.
I see. Well, looking like a good review.
I strolled into Shadow of the Erdtree thinking that I was some
New
kind
emote.
of Elden Lord badass, having defeated Melania, Moog,
Oh my god, it's so pretty.
the Elden Beast, and every other big threat around. My level 150 character was armed with fully upgraded gear and the maximum number of flasks, but let me tell you, it did not take very long for the realm of Shadow to humble me.
Come on.
Even though the only requirement to access the new areas is to beat Radahn
This hardware
Rogue,
set is actually
which,
looking so
granted,
good.
is no small feat, you're gonna want to over-prepare before stepping foot into this new arena, because it is brutal. From Software definitely...
What's on his offhand? Oh, actually, so... It seems like those are like just a fist weapons, but right, there is like some sort of cross thingy here. Not sure what is that.
into this new arena, because it is
Also,
brutal. From Software
he's going with
definitely skirts
arcane
the line between fair
affinity.
and unfair with some of the later boss designs in particular, perhaps getting closer than ever. But crucially, it never actually crosses that threshold, and that masterful tightrope
I really hope like players not going to have that spell.
walk, along with some truly spectacular boss design, results in some of the most thrilling and satisfying bosses Elden Ring and the entire Souls-like genre has to offer. It's not just the quality of those fights either. Erdtree has them in quantity too. According to our count, there are more than 40 bosses, with 10 of those being the big, showstopper fights that reward you with a remembrance upon defeat. Compare that to the more than 100 in the base game, and it's a significant chunk. When you bring up the map, it may not seem like the Realm of Shadow is that big, but it is incredibly dense because it's stacked in layers.
Yeah,
Paths lead
vertically.
upwards towards ruins suspended in the sky, others delve deep beneath the surface, and some even put you in directions that you might not have believed you can even be pulled. You might find a hidden ladder tucked away in the far corner of a castle rampart, only to follow that trail for an hour before it eventually spills out into a totally new, otherwise inaccessible area. But
Look at
even
that.
with all the discoveries to be made, I never felt lost or unsure of where I should go next. The main goal of this DLC is to follow the footsteps of the demigod Miquella, who left his flesh behind and fled to the realm of shadow. These footsteps are marked by large crosses that elegantly serve as subtle signposts to let you know when you're in the vicinity of a plot-critical path, without it ever feeling like your hand is being held as you're nudged in one explicit direction.
I had certain hope that these crosses are going to be maybe, you know, covenants or something like that, but, well, I guess not.
Were you guided here by kindly Miquella?
Apart from the main quest, there's a host of new NPCs, including 7 followers of Miquella that you'll encounter at various points in the journey. Each of them have their own small questline that ties into the main story, and those can even have an effect on some of the later boss battles, depending on your actions.
Bale! Vile Bale! Oh, terror incarnate!
And while I consider myself a fairly casual enjoyer of Elden Ring's extensive lore compared to some of the scholars out there, even my limited knowledge of the deeper plot let me appreciate some of the fantastic, eye-opening revelations towards the end of the story that are well worth the effort of getting to. It took me about 25 hours or so to beat the final boss of Shadow of the Erdtree, but I could easily see myself putting in another 15 or 20 on just this one playthrough. I still have a handful of optional bosses I need to go back to cross off my list, areas on the map that I haven't fully explored, weapons and skills
a
I
lot of
haven't gotten to
content
play
is
around with
skippable,
yet,
I see.
and side quests that I want to follow to completion. That's pretty much exactly like when I completed my review of the base game after about 80 hours, which makes sense because Shadow of the Erdtree is essentially a mini Elden Ring adventure. It condenses the whole experience down to something comparatively compact, all of it satisfyingly tuned specifically.
Oh my god, dude, this Ash is my fucking main thing. I'm gonna have entire page of weapons with this Ash, 100%. Like, look at this shit. It is
And
so
main
good.
characters who thought they've seen it all.
And this weapon has actually 200 R2.
While I haven't had any holy shit moments of awe, like the first time I took the elevator down to the Shifra River, exploration and discovery throughout the Realm of Shadow is still a delight thanks to its stellar art design,
it's very pretty.
a great variety in the areas you get to explore, and the tantalizing rewards pretty much everywhere you turn. There are 8 brand new weapon types, ranging from throwing knives to beast claws,
Okay. Look at the
giant
tsunami though.
Odachi samurai swords. My
Insane.
favorite of the new arsenal,
No
though,
stats
is the light
required.
greatsword, specifically the Milady. True to its name, the Milady has a very regal-looking moveset with combos that flow nicely into each other
Like,
and
this
hit
damage is fucking insane though.
hard, but are also relatively fast compared to actual greatswords. For me, it's a sweet spot. I actually swapped off of my powerful dual bandit curved sword bleed build to instead rock a strength and dexterity focus.
It actually makes me really curious what is the motion value on the Milady. Like this, how the hell this stance? It's called wing stance. I'm really curious, like, about the motion values because this is actually a lot of damage. Dude, on the counter damage did 1600, and yeah, it's you definitely can boost it with the stuff like Shard of Alexander, like Spear Talisman.
Build using
I'm actually
one of
really
these and
curious.
found great success for the majority of the DLC. I experimented with a couple of other weapons as well, something that is possible thanks to the ample opportunities to collect a bunch more Ancient Dragon smithing stones of both the standard and somber variety.
Oh, that's definitely something that every single of us is going to need, isn't it, Chad? Thanks a lot for more Ancient Dragon smithing stone. I have 999 of these.
However, in all my travels, I found that while the new weapon types are fun, I mean, there's
Actually, I just realized, I really wonder if this actually is going to be finally addressed. Like, I hope we are going to get some sort of the endgame shop that allows us to buy this shit. Because if we are going to end up again with freaking garbage system where you have very limited amount of the max weapon upgrades, then really Elden Ring, fuck you. That's such a fucking stupid idea to gatekeep people like this. It's just people gonna spawn themselves shipped with cheat engine or just drop each other weapons and that's it.
Certainly an appeal to going hand to hand against an army of hands, none of them ultimately measured up to the strength of the weapons I carried over from the base game. It's totally possible that there are some talismans I was missing to really make the new one sing, but I was hoping to go through the entirety of Erdtree with a brand new build. Instead, I found myself swapping back to my bread and butter bleed build to get the kind of damage that I needed when the going got tough.
Bruh. So he went with some cookie cutter mashing jump attack, crashing freaking dual bleed seppuku, curved sword bullshittery. Oh man. It's if that's his good build, then yeah. Unfortunate. But yeah,
Still, variety is despite
it is like that if you don't really understand like how to optimize builds pretty well. Relana's Twin Moons, oh my god, no. No.
And Erdtree is one hot dish.
No.
Not only are there a
The
ton of
other
new
players
weapons, there are
have
also
it.
plenty of new spells, Ashes of War, Spirit Ash summons, and talismans
It's
to
gonna
cover
be
an
such a
enormous range
fucking pointless and stupid action stopping spell in PvP, man.
of different playstyles. There's now a talisman that enhances two-handed
Oh.
attacks, one that decreases spellcasting time.
No fucking
There's
shot
now-
again. Oh my god. Can you imagine strength builds? I wonder how much, but can you imagine strength builds like with this shit? Strength builds eating fucking good. Even if that's like a 5% or something. That's fucking incredible. You just get that fucking clean rod classic build and now instead of dealing freaking 400 damage on counters, you're gonna be dealing 500. It's fucking crazy. What the fuck?
A talisman that enhances
Yeah, it's
two-handed
also very
attacks,
light.
one that decreases spellcasting time.
What? Another one? But why? But increased damage taken. It's literally fucking... unless like it gives you 70 virtual decks, this talisman is worthless. Because we can just get 70 through like offhanding the stuff and yeah. And using the Radagon's icon, I think it's called, yeah.
Dramatically, but causes you to take increased damage. Another that increases the damage
By the Atmos? What does that mean, Atmos? More than anything else, basically, huh? Well, we're gonna have to see how it's actually going to
involves
work like.
but causes you to take increased damage. Another that increases the damage of abilities that involve
Okay,
stances.
alright. Maintaining this stance for a while. It's apparently 1 second, according to people that played the preview. And yeah, in PvP it's gonna be pretty bad, but in PvE it's going to be probably amazing.
And another still that increases your damage every time you defeat an enemy. And
Okay.
yes, there are also plenty that are just
Oh my god! Oh! Look at that! Another swapping tally.
better versions of very useful talismans that you probably
Oh! And yet another swap tally.
already have. And
Oh! Wait, it's +2. Wasn't that? No, that one's from the original game.
there's no shame in sticking to what works. There are so
He actually, yeah.
many fun new builds that
I
couldn't
think he
help but
messed
wish
up, but
that
there is
Marvel
probably
tiers were a little
+3
more
then.
plentiful, so I could respec my character a little more freely. I started to run out by the time I finished the campaign, and I still have a ton of different builds that I want to try.
Enjoy your freedom.
The journey through the Realm of Shadow is structured very similarly to the Lands Between, in that the map is split up into a number of different regions. Right from the get-go, you're able to head anywhere you want to. You could follow the initial Mikula Cross to the very first Legacy dungeon called Bellarat and deal with the new horrific Scorpion enemies, or head across the bridge to the east and work your way over to the magic-filled Castle Ensis, where you have to deal with this jerk. Or you could
Namal.
find a way to bypass
Wait, what is that sword?
Castle Ensis.
Was that a
where you have
troll
to
GS? It's Trolls Colossal, I think.
deal with this jerk. Or you could find a way to bypass the need to go through either of those and get straight to the Skadu Altus, which largely serves as the central hub of the Realm of Shadow. Then you could head directly towards the Shadow Keep, fighting your way to the top of it in order to take on one of the major bosses, or going through one of its other exits to explore otherwise inaccessible parts of the map. It's a liberating sense of freedom and the same masterclass level of open world design as the base game, just on a scale that isn't quite so vast. Of course, whether or not you should make a mad dash towards the Shadow Keep is another question entirely. Even though this is endgame content and you probably won't be leveling up quite as fast as you did in the original campaign, there's a separate power scaling system that only works while you're within the Realm of Shadow. Scattered throughout the lands are Skadu tree fragments that you can collect and turn in at sites of grace to increase your overall damage and resistances. Like
I don't care what you're saying and what you think, but I am gonna be calling these as Skadoodle fragments. And you cannot do anything about it.
Likewise, you can also find revered Spirit Ash blessings to increase the damage and survivability of your Spirit Ash summons. These are two very smart inclusions as they add a much needed sense of progression, a valuable reward for exploration, and something else to hunt for if you're getting wrecked by a boss and need to come back when you're stronger. All while cleverly preserving some of the original endgame's balance if you're bravely tackling this DLC before circling back to beat the full game. From Software says that Shadow of the Erdtree is the only expansion Elden Ring will get, so it's fortunate that
yes! We finally see the running attack and it has tracking!
Expansion Elden Ring will get, so it's fortunate that it's hard to imagine a better
dude, it's
DLC
literally
than
Bone
this,
Fist, let's
as long as
go!
you're not hoping for it to do anything radically outside the box. Everything that I loved about the original has been condensed into an incredibly tight package, one that's the size of many standalone games all on its own, and can only really be considered small in comparison to the absolutely massive world of Elden Ring itself. Erdtree is absolutely jam-packed with secrets, valuable treasures, challenging boss battles, and horrific monstrosities to face off against, as well as cool new weapons, spells, ashes of war, spirit ashes, talismans, and more to play around with and use to find even more novel ways to tackle its memorably brutal battles. Add on some very interesting lore revelations, not to mention the same spectacular visual design and stellar music that accompanies its larger-than-life boss.
It is not slower than the normal Froststomp.
Spectacular
it's about the same speed. It would be slower if you would look at the vanilla Froststomp, but this is like about the same. It's just gonna be superior version, and that's it from that what I see.
And stellar music that accompanies.
Like people used to say, like in the previews, that this Divine Beast Froststomp is just slower. It's not.
Larger-than-life bosses, and you've got what is certainly one of the best DLC expansions I've ever played. For more Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, make sure that you're all set to go with our checklist of how to prepare for the DLC.
Alright, great. It's fantastic review. Well played, IGN.
And that I actually said...
Oh no! Oh no! It's fucking Scrub's gonna be spamming the shit out of it and you won't be able to do anything.
And I died. While you're exploring the Shadowlands...
It fucking leaves the flames on the ground. What the fire pillars bullshit, man?
You can collect tree fragments and revered spirit ashes. You spend these items at sites of grace and you can slightly increase your...
Wait, those are like paired light swords?
Attack power and your damage
great swords?
Or do the same thing for your
What the fuck was
summons.
that moveset?
These upgrades eventually cost more fragments each time, so you'll need to explore all over to find them. Or honestly, if you just want to power through, you have that option too. And I'm sure within a week or two, a completely naked level 1 with a club and no buff run will be on YouTube. And another
That's bad.
way FromSoft tosses
like this moveset one-handed is like...
And I'm sure within a week or two, a completely naked level 1 with a club and no buff
I mean, it's CGS, but question is if CGS just not gonna be statistically better.
Will be on YouTube. And another way FromSoft tosses us a little help is there are quite a few new weapons to play with. Plus 8 completely new weapon categories. In my playthrough, there was no shortage of big, heavy things to smash bosses
Really?
with, even right from the start. And there is no shortage of other weapon types either. One major benefit of this being
they reskinned this freaking colossal sword Ash of War, where you like drop the weapon on the ground and then pull it out and it explodes with the lava particles.
A DLC versus a fresh new game is each time I picked up a weapon I thought was interesting or found
Eruption,
a spear dash,
eruption.
I could immediately just go back to the round table. I could buy the smithing stones or materials I needed, and I just could upgrade them to the penultimate level just to see if I like them. The really amazing ones I could fully upgrade, as Shadows of the Erdtree was pretty generous in its ancient smithing stone and glove ward drops. The build variety here is immense, not just in brand new builds from new weapon types, or crazy new Ashes of War, which are going to make a lot of people very happy, but also due to some new talismans. They're going to give some much needed love to fringe build types. You're going to find several
60 Vigor Gamer. Nice. Nice. You know, like, level 212, like, you know, scrap but 60 Vigor. Other reviewers had like fucking 300 plus and they still didn't have 60 Vigor.
options for new weapons.
Also, what? Sharpshoot Talisman. Boosts attack power of precision aimed shots. That's a ganker's tool. God fucking damn it.
With at least 3.
And what is that? Arrow Soaring Sting Talisman. Increase the effective range of bows and raises attack power of arrows and
or
bows.
more scaling.
Fucking power creep. Bruh. One tally that is doing the same shit like 2 tallies but combined.
Stats. So people with really high level characters will have more options to choose from when pushing for really high.
Enhances weapon from... Okay, that's what we have seen. Raise defense with higher equipment load. Lamau.
There are also some incredible new
Oh! Look at the bulky boy!
armor sets. Sure, the stats are pretty good, but we all know that fashion is the most important thing. Also, be sure to check out the item description on all of
155 points, what?
Options to choose.
No, it's Discovery, my dude. Voice is 0. He is naked.
From when pushing for really high attack ratings. There are also some incredible new armor sets. Sure, the stats are pretty good, but we all know that fashion is the most important thing.
Shut your fucking mouth, you scrap. Jesus Christ. Retarded people repeating this fucking phrase just makes me want to cringe every single time.
Also, be sure to check out the item
Get your fucking fashion and get bodied with Hofhand Dagger with every single hit bank as Dagger.
description on all of these things, because there's a surprising amount of passive buffs on these. The magic users here are also going to get some new toys to play with. Big, nasty fireballs, pretty butterflies. Some new toys.
Realistic presentation of the use of the long casting spells and incantations.
Big, nasty fireballs, pretty butterflies, bear stuff, of course, and then dark side
Oh no.
Omega beam style.
Oh
sorcerers,
no.
and then lots more other stuff too. My first run took about 20 hours. That's for all of the bosses and optional encounters, at least all of the ones that I could find. That's all the exploration, getting lost, experimenting with builds, and an embarrassing amount of time matching the paintings to the landscape for the puzzles.
Dragon form?
So if you're just looking to experience a DLC one time, I'd plan for about that. For me, I'm at least going to get another
Show stats.
run out of the DLC, and honestly, with the build variety this opens
But wait,
up,
this
I'm
is-
gonna play through the base.
Is this different to the one that we have seen at the beginning of the IGN video? Or it is the same?
Game a bunch more times too. So I personally think the
It's
$40
different,
asking
okay.
price feels okay.
Oh, aha.
I've played far shorter and far worse Souls games for $60. Shadow of the Erdtree had me excited to play it every time I had the chance. It was about as close to re-experiencing Elden Ring for the first time as possible, but with the benefits of building on those already refined systems and adding a few more. It really did feel like being a kid on Christmas. So I have to give Shadow of the Erdtree a 10 out of 10. It may not be perfect, but a DLC that's this good on its own, that adds even more replayability for its incredible base game, has to get the legendary score. Alright, thanks so much for
Nice.
watching this rapid fire review. Miyazaki, if you happen to be watching, please, please, please give me Bloodborne on PC already and add a boss refighting tool in all your games.
Well, oh, right. I mean, this review overall, it sounded most like Gideoning, but the thing was actually saved with a lot of the new content being shown, which is fantastic.
Great materials.
Look at that. It's
Ashes.
wait. It is new as well, isn't it? Like this is a new jar. It seems like that's interesting. Yeah. Like look at that. Like shit tons of content. I'm actually curious what you can put on this hammer. Like it's probably going to be one of the highest damaging hammers in the game. Like pure stat check most likely.
The world itself is also gorgeous.
Spectral is frightened and cannot be summoned.
Plenty.
Torrent is a pussy, apparently.
Next world level.
Well, good review from Angry Joe, or like differently. Maybe review not so good, but I definitely appreciate a lot of content shown from the DLC, so that's PogChamp.